Hello Pisces, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or a coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Pisces, let's jump on in here. We're going to start with looking at overall energy through oracle cards, and then we'll dive deeper into what you are dealing with tarot as we progress. But let's first, with this recent past energy, see what you guys have been dealing with. And I am still in the process of recovering from a cold, so I feel a lot better, but I still have all the symptoms, runny nose and cough and all that, so bear with me through this reading. All right, recent past for Pisces. Communication is key, and you are good enough. This is an energy of keeping yourself small in some capacity, like holding back what you really feel or what you really think. And there's a fear associated with it. It almost feels like if you say what you want or speak up about your needs, you've either been taught like it doesn't matter, or like you won't be heard, or that it pushes people away. So I almost feel like something has taught you to almost like hold back in some way. And it's interesting because I don't feel like you're doing it intentionally. I almost feel as if you're kind of second guessing yourself. Like if you're feeling like you deserve more, like a raise at work or more from a partner or whatever, it's almost like you're second guessing that. Like you're like, oh, would that be asking for too much? Or, is that actually, what I deserve? And it's like, yes, the things that you're missing and that you're desiring right now, you absolutely do deserve. But this is about having the courage to speak up for them, like to ask for that raise or to, ask for your needs to be met, things of that nature. But there's almost a fear around doing this. And I don't necessarily know what this is about yet. So that if that sounds vague or like doesn't totally fit your story, bear with me. All right, current energy for Pisces. Interesting. It's almost like you've been taught that like speaking up for what you deserve gets you like punished in some way. And it's a really aggressive word, but that's the word that keeps coming to mind. Almost like people pull away or make you feel bad, or I don't know, like you get denied and then you feel rejected, things of that nature. You have look at the bigger picture with your hard work is paying off. This is definitely this energy of underestimating your value, underestimating what you bring to the table in some sort of capacity, whether it is work or in a relationship. I feel like you're needing to know that, like, first of all, what you deserve isn't a reflection of like how much you sacrifice. You're inherently worthy and deserving of the things that you desire, of respect and love and compensation. You're deserving of those things. But in addition to that, I also feel that, because I'm getting like, you bring a lot. You bring a lot to a relationship or to a job or to a team of some sort, but it's almost like you've been undervalued or like passed over, or like, and it's interesting because it's almost like you're doubting what you bring to the table is worth what you desire. And I think that that's part of the issue. And maybe you've been taught that you're not good enough for the things that you desire, right? You've been taught maybe, or something of that nature. I don't know what it's talking about. Let's just keep going. Like undercharging for work. Like if you're self-employed, you're undercharging or you're overextending yourself in some way. And I feel like the reason that I feel like this is important is I feel like it's kind of biting you in the butt. Because it feels like you're receiving less of what you deserve because you're overextending what you give or something of that nature, accepting less and giving more. What does Pisces need to know moving forward? Time for healing. Nothing will come of this situation, and then the end of a tough cycle approaches. This nothing will come of this situation card is always this indication to me of like nothing ever changes if nothing ever changes. And this is the thing that I've really realized is a lot of people, and I did this for a really long time too, so please know there's never any judgment, but a lot of people wait on the world to value them, right? Wait on people to finally be like, oh my gosh, look at Pisces. Look at this person. They're so worthy. They're so deserving. Finally, you get paid what you deserve, or you get loved in the way that you deserve. And I, like I said, I did this for a really long time, and I found myself consistently falling short. Like, I never really had the things that I needed, and it made me start to doubt whether or not I was enough, because it was like, no matter how hard I tried, or how hard I loved, or how much I showed up, or how much I committed, it just felt like it never was enough. And I learned that through a lot of what I was doing, and this relates to the card, so bear with me. A lot of what I was doing was trying to prove my worth and my value, trying to prove I was valuable to a boss, trying to prove that I was worthy and deserving to a partner. And I would accept a lot less in the meantime, right? And I think for a lot of us, we're taught that this is what is necessary. We're taught that we have to prove our value, that we have to show people how worthy and deserving we really are, show people our value. But what that does is it keeps us trapped and consistently trying to prove, but never quite feeling enough, because deep down, we inherently don't believe that we're enough. And that's why we're trying to prove it, because we think, okay, if I can make this person see it, then I'm enough, then I'm worthy, then I'm deserving. If I can make that person believe it, then I can finally have what I deserve, which keeps us from setting boundaries and asking for our needs to be met, because there's a part of us that goes, oh, no, when I show that I'm worthy and deserving enough, then my needs will be met. But then we never have our needs met because we're constantly stuck in this cycle of proving. So I feel like this is very much an energy of like taking your power back from whatever you're trying to get to value you, because whatever isn't valuing you isn't a reflection of your actual value, or even a reflection of how valuable that thing thinks that you are. A lot of times, we get in this position where we teach people what we believe we're worthy and deserving of. We accept compensation or a certain level of love or whatever the case is, and we say this is enough, or this is all that or all that, like, I'm willing to accept this bare minimum to continue to pour myself into you. And that ends up biting us in the butt, right? Because then we're waiting on more love, more compensation, to be treated better, but yet we're accepting a lot less and continuing to pour ourselves into it. So I think that this is a need to change your approach, whatever you're desiring, the love that you desire, the financial freedom you desire, whatever the case is, it is very possible for you, but I do feel like adjustments are required, and there's a need to kind of look at what's going on below the surface and how you can reclaim your power in this situation. Because I think that that's one of the biggest things that people do. They wait to be they wait to be seen as valuable instead of believing that they're valuable enough. All right, overall theme of this for you, Pisces. This is interesting. I don't know what this is talking about. I feel like a lot of my readings this week, I've been using like business terms. I don't know if that's, I'm preparing for my financial freedom workshop, so I don't know if that's just because that's where my mind is, or if that workshop coincides with what people are needing to hear. Probably a little bit of both. Overall theme of this for Pisces. Full moon with the end of a tough cycle. So this is closing out a cycle, but look, requires a shift. Closing this cycle requires a shift. Cycle of lack, a cycle of struggle requires a shift, and it's not working harder. So don't worry about that, because I feel like you've been working your ass off, Pisces. I don't feel like it's working harder. I don't feel like it's doing more. I feel like it's different than that. But okay, let's see. Let's just keep going. There it is. These symptoms are driving me crazy. I've had so many people give me so many remedies because of my past videos that I've uploaded. Last week I was a lot more sick than I am now. I've tried everything. It won't go away. I know that Spirit was trying to sit me down and get me to rest, so I did. I rested a lot this past weekend. I don't know. All right, let's look at this, Pisces. Let's start with looking at this recent past. You are good enough. Communication is key. Is that upright? No, it's in reverse. Strength in reverse. Lacking confidence. Wow, those are both in reverse. Justice in reverse with the strength in reverse. I feel like it's because you've been screwed over a lot, Pisces, and I think that has caused you to believe certain things about yourself that aren't true. You know, how other people treat us isn't a reflection of our value. It's a reflection of how much they value themselves. But it's really easy to believe, especially when we've been treated a certain way for so long, or in a lot of different ways, or by different people, like, we're going to start to believe that there's something inherently wrong with us, like that we're not good enough for love, or that we're not good enough to be valued. And we start to doubt not just what's possible for us, but we start to doubt whether or not what we bring to the table is worth what we desire at all. And I think that that's one of the things that happens to a lot of people on their journey. You know, one of my favorite quotes is by Carl Jung, some world-renowned psychologist Carl Jung, and it is that you are not what has happened to you, you are who you choose to become. And the reason that I like this quote so much is because it, to me, reflects one of the most beautiful aspects of being a human, which is that we always have a choice to be someone different than we are. We always have a choice to change. We have a choice to show up differently, and that choice is where our power really lies. But the problem is, whenever we go through a lot of really unfortunate things in our life, we start to let the world define us. We let the world define who we are, what we're capable of, what we're worthy of, what we're deserving of. And a lot of times this does happen in relationships, and it can flow into other areas of our life, especially starting in, like, you know, early childhood relationships. But I feel like that's what this reading really is about, is reclaiming your power, taking back your power from the ways that it has been taken from you. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the time what we want is we want to have power over that situation, right? We want to be able to, you know, have power over the things that took our power away. But a lot of times that's not how it works. Taking your power back isn't about being powerful over somebody else. Taking your power back is no longer letting how you were treated define you and what's possible for you moving forward. That's why I've always said that the best revenge is a life well lived. And I think that, like, right now, or maybe in the past, you've struggled with that a little bit, and it's got you in this cycle or habit of accepting less or settling for less than what you deserve without even realizing it. Maybe in love, again, like in your finances, whatever the case might be. And to you, it might feel like you don't have another choice, right? But I feel like what Spirit is trying to get you to see right now is that there's so much more that's possible for you. There's so much more that's possible for you when it comes to all of the things that you do desire. And I think that it's hard, right? Because when we've experienced certain things, we start to believe that what we've experienced is all that's possible for us. But that does become true for a lot of people, because if our reality reflects what we believe, and we believe that less than what we deserve is all that's possible for us, and that's what we're going to create again and again and again without even realizing. That's what we're going to attract. But I do feel that this is about breaking out of beliefs that you've held on to for like a really long time in your life. Beliefs around your worthiness, your deservingness, your capabilities, how supported you are by the universe. because again, our life is a reflection of what we believe. And if we're taught to believe certain things, that's going to be our reality. But if we want more, we have to look at how we might be settling or accepting less because we think we have to. But maybe we don't actually have to. Maybe there are other options. Maybe there are other paths. Current energy here for Pisces. There's this energy of being very disconnected from yourself. Very disconnected from, your needs and your desires and your feelings. It's very much just trying to get through the day, the week, the month, right? I think that we do that when we're so burnt out, right? When we're so burnt out, when we're so tired of grief and disappointment, we stop hoping for the best. We start expecting the worst and figuring out, okay, how can I survive this? And before we know it, we're living in this life and in this reality that reflects our expectation of disappointment. And then we go ahead and believe that that's all that's ever going to be possible for us. Another one of my favorite quotes by Carl Jung is, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our life and we will call it fate. A lot of times we think we're fated to certain experiences, to loss and love, to financial struggles, to whatever the case is. But what we don't realize is if we think that we're fated to certain experiences, we will attract them. And I'm not blaming you for your decisions. I'm not saying that the things that have happened to you are your fault. In fact, I'm actually saying quite the opposite. If we're taught certain things about our value and our worth, that trauma, those experiences that taught us those things about ourselves, that's not our fault. But if we want to break out of the things that we've been through and create a new reality, we have to be willing to look at those things and to take full accountability for the way that we can show up different. And that doesn't mean do better by others. I'm talking about showing up different for yourself. How can I set stronger boundaries? How can I communicate my needs more? How can I make sure that I'm not undercharging and overworking so that I'm burnt out and struggling all the time, right? But if we're taught that survival mode is the only way, then we're going to stay in survival mode. We're going to choose survival mode. We're going to experience the exact same outcomes over and over and over again, and we're going to call it fate. We're going to say, this is all that's possible. This is the universe's fault. The universe keeps leading me to these things. When in reality, the universe is trying to move you to bigger and better things, but it does require you to believe in your worth, in your value, and in your capabilities more than ever before. And I think that that's where you're starting to get stuck a little bit. Is it's like, well, if I believe I'm deserving of more, then I'm going to have to undo all the beliefs and all of the experiences and heal the deep-rooted experiences that taught me that I'm worth less or that I'm deserving of less or that, less is possible for me. Because remember, you're closing a tough cycle, but it does require a shift. What does Pisces need to know moving forward? A time for healing. The end of a tough cycle approaches. I think that right now is a time to get very, and I've been saying this a lot, but it's definitely coming through for you, Pisces, to get very intentional about your energy. When we, for those of you who aren't aware of this, I am a Taylor Swift fan, not just her music, but I do very much love her as a person. I've followed her journey since she was a child and I was a child. And I mention this because recently she went on a podcast and there was a quote that then went viral that she said, and it was that you have to treat your energy like a luxury item. Like, not everybody can afford it. And this was in response to her basically getting asked if the hate on the internet that she gets bothers her. And she essentially was like, those people have not invested enough in my life or in, being something valuable to me for me to value what they have to say of me. And I think that this was really powerful and a lot of, young women, and I think people really needed to hear it because it's true. Your energy is not expendable. It's not replaceable. It's unique. And it's valuable and it's important. But when we don't believe that, we give it out to everybody. We give it to the unhealthy relationships. We give it to the job that doesn't value us. We give it to people and friends and situations that make us feel like shit. And we do it over and over and over again, hoping that if we do it enough that things will change. But then when things don't change, we look at ourselves and we say, oh, it's either because I'm not doing enough, giving enough, or I'm not enough. But if you're wanting people outside of you, if you're wanting a job to value you or relationships to value you, you have to value yourself first enough to know that what you have to provide is valuable. That if somebody doesn't value it, that's not a reflection of it not being valuable. That's a reflection of that person not being able to afford what you have to give. And when we look at it that way, and it's not an eye for an eye, it's not transactional relationships, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what you pour your heart, mind, body, and soul into. You have to make sure that you are doing that while also understanding that you deserve to be poured into as well. You deserve a reciprocation of what you have to give. Does that mean you do everything with the expectation of reciprocation? No, of course not. But if you're giving to a relationship over and over and over, you're pouring yourself into somebody, you're pouring yourself into a friendship, and you continue to get treated poorly and your energy is getting drained and you're starting to feel bad about yourself, and every single time you're with that person or in that situation, your mental health declines, maybe even your physical health declines. At that point, you have to get a little bit selfish, right? You have to be willing to say, okay, I know that what I have to give is worth more than this. You have to be the one to decide that though. Instead of, oh, if this person is treating me poorly, let me double down and try to make them treat me better. Let me try to make them, value me and see my worth and my value. Because what that does is it leaves you more drained, more empty, and feeling like you are not enough. So I feel like that's like one of the bigger themes of your life lesson, if you will, right now. And the shift, when I talk about confidence and when I talk about self-love, it's not feeling good about yourself all the time. I've always said self-love is not a feeling, it's an action. It's not about feeling 100% confident and 100%, good. It's about acting as if you are. Self-love is about doing the stuff that shows you that you are worth good things. It's about being the person you've always wanted for yourself, being the person that advocates for you, being the person that stands up for you, being the person that chooses you, that loves you and values you in ways that you have not received from this world. That's what healing is. It's about being for yourself what you've been looking for in other people all along. Because what this does is it first leads you to stop settling, because you start to learn what it's like to be treated well because you treat yourself well, and you stop needing people to treat you well, and you start being willing to accept when people can't treat you well and to move on with an understanding that that's just where they're at right now. So I feel like right now isn't a time to, like I said, is a time to get very intentional about where you are investing your energy and making sure that the things that you're investing in are worth it, are capable of can afford it. And I mean that in a very literal way. Okay, what does, I said that in a literal way, and I'm like, maybe it's like underpaying for your services and being afraid to, to raise your prices, because it's like, well, what if people can't afford it, or what if people can't, I know that as a business owner, I get that, and I know how hard it is to make that adjustment. But I also know that, like, if you don't charge more, you're going to burn out. Like, if you don't charge more for what you give in business and in life, like, you're going to burn out. What does Pisces need to know moving forward? That cannot be fun to hear through a microphone, so I do apologize. Okay. 9 of Swords with the Hermit. The Tower in reverse. There are changes in your life that you've been avoiding making, Pisces. And I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, these things in your life, it's either providing consistent disappointment, making you unhappy, adding more negativity than positivity to your life. And Spirit saying, because I think that you feel like you have no other choice. But I feel like you do have more choices than you think. If you think you have no other choice, you're not going to see opportunities, right? You're not going to search for them. You're not going to see them when they appear. And I feel like Spirit's saying there are things that are adding stress and anxiety and grief and sadness to your life, and these things need to be addressed. These things need to stop being avoided. They need to be faced, because I think that, it's easier to live in an illusion, right? Where everything's fine or something isn't a problem. I experience this a lot with unhealthy friendships, where I'll experience a relationship, and I've had this in the past, where people would treat me poorly or make me feel bad about myself. And, I'd always find myself back in these horrible, horrible feelings. And then, we'd have an argument, and then we'd move past that argument. Things would be fine for a while until we'd repeat it all again. And I didn't realize that that's not how you're supposed to feel in any relationship. The people that I surround myself with now, they lift me up. They make me feel good about who I am. They tell me the truth when I need to hear it, but not to tear me down, but to help me grow even more. And I think that there's certain changes in your life that you're avoiding, either because change is scary or because you don't feel like there is another option. And Spirit is asking to take a deeper look at these things and to address what needs to be done about them, because the cycle is going to continue to repeat, right? The disappointment and the sadness and the stress and the grief and the energy that you've been stuck in for so long, these things will repeat if not addressed. And you don't want to repeat the cycle. I know you don't, because you haven't been feeling all that great. And I'm not blaming you, okay? The way that you've been treated is not your fault. The things that have happened to you are not your fault. But if there's anything that I've learned, it's that our life is always a reflection of what we believe that we deserve. And until we're willing to get honest with ourselves about what we believe we deserve, not up here, but in here, because 95% of our movements, choices, and decisions actually stem from our subconscious. Only 5% of the way we interact with our reality, it's like 90 to 95%, and then 5 to 10% is actually conscious level decision making. We have to get honest about what's going on in here. What we've been taught we believe, what we've been taught to believe that we deserve, what we've been taught to believe that we're worth, we've been taught to believe we're capable of, how intelligent we are, how attractive we are, how beautiful we are. All of these things, you are so much more than how the world has defined you to this point. And breaking into the life of your dreams is about breaking out of the limitations that have been put on you through these experiences that you've had. So this is kind of a deep one, but I do feel like it was really important for somebody. It feels a little bit personal. I obviously hope it resonated. We're going to hop on over to the extended. I'm going to dive deeper into this, looking at ultimately what you need to do right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Thank you so much, Pisces, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Pisces.